I had a six pack, but I still felt like I was 300 pounds. I thought that if I got abs, girls would want me, and then I would finally feel like I was enough. But I learned the hard way that changing the outside of my body wouldn't heal what was broken on the inside. In this video, I want to share the two biggest things that shaped how I viewed myself and the simple realization that helped me finally break free from being trapped in cycles of insecurity. I definitely don't have this all figured out, and I still live by everything that I say, but this video is one that I wish I had 10 years ago. Let's get it. I was using attention from girls to feel secure. I thought that if girls wanted me, then that would mean I was man enough, and that meant that I was good. I felt like, yes, I needed that. See, I grew up overweight, I grew up overlooked, and that led to a lot of shame and insecurity in my own life. I was always the fat, chubby kid that was friends with everybody, but no one ever actually wanted to date. No girl that I liked wanted to date me. And that just led to a lot of shame and insecurity. And eventually, one day I was like, one day I want to have a body, a physique that is going to make girls want me because culture shaped my idea of what a man was. And a man was someone that girls wanted. A man was someone that girls desired. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to be a man, then that needs to be me. And I thought that it would heal my insecurity. So fast forward like so many years, and I finally had this physique that I was working so hard to get, but it still wasn't enough. I was like, okay, well, I still have this fat that I need to lose, and my friends are like, dude, you look great, you look good, and I was like, it's still not enough. Like, I still need to lose this fat here, and blah 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 blah, and it wasn't enough. And I was getting attention from girls, but it still left me feeling empty, and I was afraid that I could lose it because if they liked somebody else or if there was someone else that was stronger or someone else that was like better looking, then they would come along and then I would not matter anymore. And see, there was two things that shaped how I viewed myself. Number one, I let culture shape and define me through movies, through songs. Culture painted this picture in my head that a man could get girls, a man could use girls, a man was strong, was rich, he had all these things. And I was like, okay, well, that's what I want to be. I was looking at what culture said a man was, and I was letting culture shape and define me. I wanted to be the guy that other guys were jealous of. They would look at me and be like, dang, Zack gets girls. Zack has money. Zack is this. I wanted that. And for all the girls that rejected me in the past, I wanted them to regret ever rejecting me. That was my drive. I was like, okay, well, I need to be the best, the strongest, the most good looking. I was like, that's what I need to get. That's what I'm running after. Because if I don't have that, then that means I'm not a man. That means that I'm not enough. And I think we all kind of let culture shape and define us in different ways. Like maybe you're chasing after money for security, or you feel like you have to prove yourself through success. We feel like, okay, well, I have to do certain things for people to appreciate and value me. I think we all have that in our own ways. For me, it was attention from girls. And the second thing is that shame was controlling my life. I let shame be the thing that fueled my change. I was ashamed of who I was because no girls wanted me, no girls chose me. And the girls that I did like, if I would make a move, they would be like, nah, and then they would go out with my friends. it was it was sucky, dude. It sucked. I was like, no one wants me. I hated that. That meant that it was telling me that I wasn't enough and that I had to do better and I had to be more. I had to be someone that I wasn't. So it led to trying to prove myself. I was running away from this fat kid that was inside me. I was running away from the shame-filled kid that's still sometimes deep down inside. I didn't believe that I was man enough because a real man had girls, he had looks, and he had popularity, and I didn't have any of that. I wasn't popular, I was overweight, and girls didn't want me. So what that was telling me is that I was the opposite of what a man was. And it was easier for me to believe that God could do a miracle through me or for me than it was to believe that he saw me differently than I saw myself. I had all these lies I was believing about me, all these things that I was like, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, no one loves me, no one wants me, I'll never get married, all these crazy things that I would believe about myself. And I didn't believe what God said about me. I didn't believe how he viewed me. I didn't think that he viewed me. I didn't think it was possible for him to view me differently than I viewed myself. So I let culture shape and define me. And then I was living my life fueled by shame. But one day there was kind of like a simple light bulb moment that changed everything for me. It wasn't like the skies opened up and an angel came down and was like, this is what you need. It was just like a moment where I was like with God. I was like praying and I was like wrestling with rejection, wrestling with insecurity that led me to porn. And I would run. It was a coping mechanism. So I'm struggling with all those things, and I'm like, okay, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. And it led me to Him, to His feet, and then He revealed something to me. And it was simple, but sometimes simple doesn't mean easy. It was a simple thing that I needed to change, and it was a simple thing that I needed to live out, but it's still hard to this day. What He told me, what He revealed to me is that I was believing lies more than I was believing what God said to be true. I was believing lies about God, about His character, about His nature. Because if I believe that God doesn't love me and that God's not good, why would I view His character and His nature different? So girls are rejecting me because God's mad at me, because God doesn't think I'm enough. If people don't think that I'm enough, how could God think that I'm any different? That was the lens that I was living my life. I was letting lies shape how I lived. I was letting shame shape how I live. I stopped listening to God and started listening to my insecurities. And those were things that ruined me. I realized that I had to take God at His word. He loved me and desired me when no one else did. The Bible says He loved me when I was His enemy, when I was against Him. If He loved me in the worst condition of my life, that means He can love me at my best. So I had to stop believing that I wasn't lovable, that no one was ever going to want me, that God didn't have a plan for my life. I had to stop believing those things that I had ingrained inside of me. I had taken rejection from different people, and I had turned it into my identity. It wasn't, rejection was no longer something that I felt. It became my identity. Shame was no longer something that I felt. It became my identity, because in a moment when I felt ashamed that someone rejected me because I was overweight, it was, now I am rejected because I'm overweight. And because I'm overweight, I'm bad. I'm not good. So those things became my identity. And that was what I lived. That was what I walked in. But when Jesus showed me His love, when He revealed what he just, all He had to do was open up my eyes. It was a simple thing. It was like, boom, light bulb moment. Oh, wait, I'm believing something that's not true. So I have to live in the truth if I want to be free. Jesus says, you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And He also says, for freedom, you have been set free. When you know truth, you'll be set free. And when you realize that for freedom, it was for freedom's sake that God set us free, we realize I don't have to live trapped in that anymore. I don't have to live controlled by that anymore. So to this day, I have to make a choice of what voice am I going to listen to. One time I heard this pastor say that every morning when he wakes up, he has to ask God, what do you think of me? And he needs to hear it from God first, because unless he hears it from God that he's loved and that he's worthy and that he's chosen, he's going to go look for other people to tell that to him. And that blew my mind. I was like, whoa, I needed that. And if I don't hear it from God first, I'm going to look for it in other people. And that's what I did to begin with. I was looking for God. I was looking for acceptance and for love. And I thought that in my body that I would get it. I thought that once I had a six pack, that girls would want me, that I would finally be the man that I aspired to be. But it was empty, because it wasn't the thing that I needed. I needed to know that God loved me and that He said I was a man by creation, by design. My character, my nature, who I am is a man. It doesn't matter what I look like on the outside. It doesn't matter how strong I am, how much money I have. None of that mattered. I was a man because God created me to be a man, to lead, to serve, and to love like He loved. It's a man's responsibility to lay his life down for others. And that takes humility and that takes guts. And that's what makes a real man. And He was showing me that. And He continues to show me that. And to this day, I still have to choose, what voice am I going to listen to? Since that picture of me with the six pack, I've gained 20 pounds of fat. It's been a couple years. I started dating. I got married. It was all happy weight. But I felt the same shame that I felt before. I felt the same. I felt like I was still 300 pounds. I gained 10 pounds. I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm 300 pounds again. Then I gained 20. It's like, dude, I'm even fatter than before. And I just feel this shame and this guilt, because it's something that's still inside of me that I have to wrestle with, and I have to give it to God. I don't think that God is ever going to take away your insecurity or your need to like feel affirmed and loved, because that is one thing that is going to keep you coming back to Him every single day. If He were to take it away, you wouldn't need Him to remind you who you are, but we need Him to remind us who we are. And maybe that's not theologically accurate. I don't know. But in the Bible, Paul talks about a thorn in his flesh. And he asked God, would you take it away? Would you take it away? Would you take it away? He's like, no, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in your weakness. So no matter what I feel, no matter the insecurity that I feel, I have a choice. Okay, well, what am I going to do about this? Am I going to run to God and listen to what he says? Or am I going to believe the lies again? Am I going to listen to culture? Am I going to listen to my own thoughts and my own feelings above God's word? That's crazy. I can't do that. So even today, when I feel insecure, what I do is I run to Jesus instead of running to other people to find affirmation. I run to Jesus instead of other people to find love, acceptance, peace. He's the only one that can give it to me. No six pack, no amount of attention from people, no attention from anybody else can satisfy like Jesus satisfies. And why am I using a spatula? Because I wanted to try something new.